Hi, friend. I'm so excited to tell you that I am halfway done with yoga teacher training. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I can't believe that 3 months has flown by the way it has. It's amazing how quickly time can pass when you're having fun. And so I've created some amazing friendships. I've learned a massive amount of information, and it's just been great. So weekend number 6, the word of the weekend for me was powerful. And so it's going to take me a little bit to get to why I chose this word this week, but just wanted to say that right off the bat that it is powerful. And so this past weekend, it really started out pretty stressful for me. And it's due to a lot of factors, but the main one being that I was actually launching a digital product for AM marketing called Intentional Instagram the week after my weekend number 6 of yoga teacher training. So my goal was to have, everything planned out and done and ready to go by the time I went into yoga teacher training. But if you've ever launched anything in your life or plan to, let me just tell you, nothing works like you plan it to. And so it was not all done. So I walked in on Friday and I was stressed out to the max, knowing that I had so much more to do in terms of my business work, but yet I was going to be sitting in a room for a lot of hours over the weekend. And so I was mentally nervous that I wouldn't be able to be present in the moment and take in the information in the way that I needed to. And as you know, I do not have to tell you this, but yoga is fantastic. And absolutely fantastic for allowing you to get out of your head and into your body. And so for a little short second, I thought maybe I'll just lay down for the practice today and just try and center myself. But then I thought, no, I think my body needs to move. And so I did the asana practice, and I'm so glad I did. It was exactly what I needed. I was able to be present in the room, and it was wonderful. So for the rest of the weekend, I was able to actually be there, retain the information, and I was really excited about doing it. And the product still launched on time, and everything was great. So the stress was there, but it turned out to be a great weekend. And so we focused on shoulders and inversions over this past weekend. And let me just tell you, I've never thought of downward dog as an inversion before. So it seems so intuitive now. It makes me think, like, how did I not know that before? I mean, your head's totally upside down. I don't know how I didn't know, but there's so many things. Thinking about inversions, typically it's just handstand, headstand. We're thinking about these things, but crow is an inversion, and there's so many other inversions that were just eye-opening to me, and how much the shoulders play into it. And so I learned a ton about the shoulders, and we are really fortunate at Everyone Yoga School to have experts come in and teach on specific things. And so there's one specific person who's come in 4 different times and taught us about skeletal and muscular systems and how they work together, especially in the yoga community or yoga world. And so it was amazing to learn from him and to know that abducting my shoulders is something that I really need to do in all of these poses, including downward facing dog. It was something I just took a lot in from that moment of recognizing what I need to be doing with my shoulders to better prepare them to do more good work in my body. And so just eye-opening experiences, as I know that you experienced in your yoga teacher training too. And so it's just amazing to learn all of this information about the body. And I never wanted to take an anatomy class in college, but it is super, super, super eye-opening right now. So I'm just blown away by the amount of information that I've had come in. So another thing that I want to talk to you about is what happened. So my yoga teacher training is Friday, Saturday, Sunday over the weekend. And so on Sunday, this was the day I have been counting down and looking forward to so much. It was the self-care boundaries day. And I literally was counting down for this day. I was so excited. But we had quite the experience to start our Sunday. So we were all sitting on our mats. We hadn't started class yet. Everyone was kind of filing in. It was just about to get started. And we had a homeless man walk in the door. And he didn't barge in and do anything crazy right away, but he walked in like he knew where he was going, and he walked in. And so immediately the teacher who was leading that day said, "How can we help you?" And handled it beautifully, by the way. I just hope I have enough grace and understanding of the situation if anything happens like this for me. And one of the males in the class, we only have 2 guys in the class, but one of them jumped right up and walked up to the door. And so he was there just kind of prepared. And the guy didn't understand really where he was. He was trying to find a church. And so someone looked up on their phone where the church was and gave him directions. Well, then he didn't want to leave and said, "I want to sit down." And the student had to kind of usher him out of the building. And it was quite the moment. Nothing bad happened. It wasn't just overly dramatic, but it happened. And so here we are about to learn about self-care. And a little other nugget of information is that the teacher who was instructing that day, she teaches trauma-informed yoga to communities who don't otherwise have access to yoga. So thinking detention centers, jails, schools, that sort of thing. And so she teaches a very specific class structure that is trauma-informed. And so while this was not an ideal situation to have someone come into our classroom like that, it actually played into it really, really well. And I thought I learned even more. So I am sure everyone else in the class did too. So she handled the situation so well, and it was just so eye-opening to see how that could have been a super dramatic and drawn out situation, but instead she took it and then we grounded ourselves. She took us through this beautiful exercise of, okay, you're sitting on your mat, touch the floor, ground yourself. What is supporting you? Notice what your body is doing. Is it shaking? Is your heart racing? Are you sweating? Are you clenching your jaw? Are you tensing your muscles up? And then ask yourself, what would it feel like if I took a deep breath in, a deep breath out, and just felt a little more relaxed? What would that feel like? And then transitioning that into everyday life. So if naturally you clench your jaw and your muscles when something stressful or traumatic happens, retraining that pathway in your brain to take a deep breath versus clenching is going to be a habit that you can train your body to do, and how you can have yoga help you through a stressful situation. And how beautiful is that? Everything is so wonderful how it can be connected. And so she took this experience that could have been traumatic and dramatic and made it into the practice. And so then she led us through a wonderful asana practice. Holy moly, it has probably been my favorite so far in all of yoga teacher training, and it was wonderful. And so here I am in this practice thinking, I wish I could record this. And even right now in this moment, I'm still wishing that I had followed that gut instinct and gone to my phone and voice recorded. But afterwards I said, could I take a picture of your notes? Because that was the best class. And she actually said, which I thought was so interesting for me as a aspiring yoga teacher here, she said, you can take a picture of my notes, but that's not what I taught today. And I said, you didn't have that written down? How is that even possible? And she said, based on what happened first thing this morning, and I was just reading the room and the bodies that were moving in the way that they were, I changed the practice. There's some things I kept, but not a lot. And I thought, that is yoga. Adapting to a situation, reading the room, adjusting to the situation that you were presented with. That is yoga. And how beautiful that is that she was able to capture that moment. I just enjoyed it so much, and I was really excited to be present in that moment. And so throughout the practice, she talked about the power pose. And so here we are standing in power pose, like, hands on hips, fist on hips, chest up, very proud. And I'm standing there and I started crying. And again, the more you know about me, the more you know I'm not really a big crier, in front of others especially. And so here I am, super dang uncomfortable. I'm a front row student. I've said this before. So of course I'm in the front of the room and she is right. I'm like front and center in the classroom. And I think, oh my gosh, I am crying. This is uncomfortable for me. So I shut my eyes. I'm still crying for whatever reason. Like at that point, I hadn't even figured out why the heck I was crying. And I didn't really know what to do with myself. And then she said, learning to be comfortable in the uncomfortable is so beneficial for your everyday life. I was uncomfortable. And so we stood there. We stood there for a full 2 minutes in that power pose. And she said, feel what it feels like. Understand what that feeling is in this power pose, because you can have that feeling in any pose in your life or in your yoga practice. You can feel that feeling of power, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Embracing your own power is so, so important. And so for me, I started reflecting on that over the next days and thinking, okay, I'm a confident person. Like if you ask me about marketing stuff or different areas of my life that I know, I'm confident in that. However, if you ask me about neuroscience, I'm not going to know anything and I'm not going to be confident. But to me, power and confidence aren't the same. But I think that they're used so much in the same context. And so for me, I thought, I want to embrace my power. Even if I'm not confident that I know something, I can still have my own power. And so that's what I'm choosing to work on in my life. But how beautiful it was that it came up in a yoga practice that I never would have ever known could ever even happen. So in all of the self-care, we talked about boundaries and active listening, which I need to work on every single day of my life, and holding space. Talking about holding space for ourselves and others was something that we talked about for quite some time, and how you can only hold space for other people if you can hold space for yourself. And so that was something that was really impactful for me, in that you have to learn to do it for yourself before you can do it for someone else. And I think that is just a beautiful thing to learn. And so I'm excited to dig in and continue to learn and process through that. So all of this was a little bit heavy. So I'm really excited, and all of the power and having all that. But I have one little piece of light information that was my favorite part about weekend number 6. There was pumpkin pie. Oh yes, there was pumpkin pie. One of my fellow students brought pumpkin pie, not knowing this, but just brought pumpkin pie to share with the class. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. Fun fact about me, I love pumpkin pie. So much so that my mom makes a pumpkin pie for my birthday every year. Well, she hasn't made it in a while because I don't live in the same state as her, but she makes it at some point for me whenever I go home. And my birthday's in July. So it's often a little more difficult to get the pumpkin ingredients, but she does make that. And now my husband has taken over, and he now makes the pie for my birthday, because I like pumpkin pie so much more than cake. So I was like a kid at Christmas with this pumpkin pie, and it was delicious. But anyways, that was weekend number 6. It was powerful. It was awesome. And I'm looking forward to digging in and continuing to deepen that practice of embracing my own power. And I would love to hear if you experienced anything similar in your yoga teacher training. So reach out and let me know. I'll see you next time. Bye.